Well, it seems like that recent string of positive sessions in which the S&P 500 as well as the Dow Jones climbed for the fourth straight day yesterday has helped these indices trim their losses for the month. The Nasdaq Composite 2 has registered its fifth consecutive win day, as well as though suffering and trimming its losses for the month, becoming its worst monthly loss in 2023. Now, for the month of August, the broad market index has lost about 1.77%, while the Nasdaq, that one has shed 2.17%, and the 30-stock Dow Jones has dropped 2.36% overall. Now, in overnight trading, we did see mostly the investors digesting that new inflation data that came in. The core personal consumption expenditure index, or PCE index that we call it, has increased by 0.2% on a month-on-month basis for July, whereas increasing 4.2% on a year-on-year basis. This pretty much in line with estimates. The core PCE is also closely watched as an inflation indicator by the Federal Reserve, and which is why that data is quite important. Now, investors will also know and turn their attention towards a non-farm payroll data, which will be out later today. And if you look at Europe, well, those stocks too closed slightly lower on Thursday after the release of that preliminary Eurozone inflation data. The European Stock 600 index slipped by about 0.1%. The loss largely though it was a positive session as a whole, but taking the declines for the month to about 2.64%. Now, on the macro front, the Eurozone inflation came in higher than expected for the month of August, according to that preliminary data, remaining unchanged in July for 5.3%. Now, in stock-specific action, though, in the Eurozone, it was mainly UBS which gained almost 6% in trade after it posted its first set of results since the bank completed its takeover of Credit Suisse. We also saw grocery delivery firm Ocado topping that European shares, gaining and adding over 8% in trade. And seems like a mixed trade for Asian indices as well. The Asia-Pacific region traders are digesting data that is just trickling in China. The Caixin S&P Global Manufacturing Purchasing Index has also come in and has risen to about 51 points in August, better than the 49.3 reading that analysts, according to Reuters, were polling. Now, mainland Chinese indices like the Shanghai Composite is trading higher at this point by about 0.48%. The Shenzhen component is also trading up by about 0.25% post those numbers. If you look at the other markets, Australia, the S&P ASX did dip by about 0.29% in the first hour of trade. South Korea's Kospi 2 is trading just tad bit in the green, whereas Japan's Nikkei is down and about by about 0.16%. Let me also tell you that Hong Kong markets are bracing in for that super typhoon called Saola, and that because of which trading has been halted, and the Hang Seng Index will be paused due to this bad weather. According to the Hong Kong Stock Exchange guidelines, trading will be halted if a number 8 signal or above is issued, which is what is currently happening. And to more political developments in the Southeast Asian region, where 3 men hoping to be Singapore's next president have made their final pitches and are awaiting the decision when 2.7 million voters will go to polls today to decide who will be Singapore's next president. Now, the contenders for the largely ceremonial post are Tharman Shanmugatharam. There's also a former deputy prime minister. There's NG Kong Song, who is the former chief investment officer of a sovereign wealth fund, that is GIC, as well as Tan Kin Lian, who is a former insurance company head under the National Trade Union body, which is NTUC. Now, voting will open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., which is underway right now, as Singaporeans will choose their 9th president for the city-state. And since it's polling day, the markets there, it is considered as a public holiday. And let us also reach out and tell you more about the African country, which often is, reduced to the news. Well, a wave of chaos has hit Africa's Gabon, as the Gabonese military officers have proclaimed that they have seized power, annulling the results of a recently concluded election that led to the victory of President Ali Bongo, who is the 3rd time president. Now, the military also claims that the recent elections lacked any credibility. The military coup has replaced President Ali Bongo and placed him under house arrest, and has ended that Bongo dynasty that has held onto power for about 56 years since. Now, the senior military leaders appeared on television and said that they represented all the security and defense forces of the Central African country. They went on to say that the election results were cancelled and that all state institutions will be dissolved. And let's get you up to speed with a recap of how markets did yesterday on Dalal Street, where we did see the markets close in the red amidst that volatility, since it was the series expiry day as well. Now, for the series, though, the Nifty is down by about 2%, posting losses for the first time since March. And the mid-cap index, though, that one has risen by about 5% this series, while the Nifty Bank Index, that one is down 4% this series. But also, let's tell you, in yesterday's trade alone, we did see the Sensex falling about 256 points. The Nifty too ending with some minor cuts there. Mid-cap index, like I'm telling you, for this whole series has been the one who's gaining quite a bit. So that one's still in the green, whereas the Bank Nifty slipping over 200 points. Now, we did see the MSCI-related stocks see a sharp move in those last hours of trade yesterday due to those adjustments that came in. But among the stocks that you need to be keeping out on your radar today, well, Torrent Pharma was the top mid-cap loser yesterday because it reported that likely it is going to be submitting that non-binding bid to acquire stake in Cipla. So both those stocks will be on your radar. Also, keep in mind, look at Adani Group of stocks, which saw cuts of about 2 to 4%. This, even though they denied those allegations of the OCCRP report. We'll also look at Maruti, which is another stock that should be on your radar, as it will be posting its monthly sale numbers. And we did see that stock really surpass that 10,000 mark as well in trade. So all of these will be quite a buzz that you need to be looking out for. Let's also tell you the big macro data that we've seen and we've been tracking. Now, it seems like India remains one of the fastest growing major economies, especially as China post-pandemic recovery has really slowed down. So India now has put out its GDP numbers for the first quarter, and it saw it grow by about 7.8%. This is slightly below the Reserve Bank estimate of 8%. Now, GVA too has grown by about 7.8%, and this was supported really by that strong momentum in services growth, which came in at 10.3% on a YOY basis, which is also backed by consumer spending through services such as real estate and trade and transport. But it was the agriculture sector which really slowed down to about 3.5% and continues to remain below those pre-COVID levels. This is according to the data that had come out last evening by the National Statistics Office. Now, the GDP print is pretty much in line with the street estimates, as economists were projecting that the economy would be recording its fastest annual pace in a year. In fact, India's chief economic advisor V. Anantha Nageshwaran goes on to say that there's no concern about inflation spiraling out of control. Let's listen into what he had to say.
The real GDP has registered 7.8% growth year on year, and it continues the momentum that we saw in the fourth quarter of the last fiscal year. And these numbers are on a slow and steady upward trend, which is good. Both RBI and the Ministry of Finance are very comfortable maintaining our estimate of 6.5% for real GDP growth for FY24.
Now to more political developments, where the central government has convened a special session of the parliament for 5 days between September 18 to 22nd. This, according to the Parliamentary Affairs Minister Pralhad Joshi, who came out yesterday and said that the government was going ahead with this move. Now, there is no official word on what the agenda for the session will be and what will be held, but this is coming just days after that G20 summit in the national capital will convene on September 9th and 10th. But speculations are rife that the centre may be looking to bring in a uniform civil code, or the UCC as we know it, or also a one nation, one election kind of bill. Now, all of these are speculations. There's also talks of whether the women's reservation bill will be brought in this special session. So we need to wait and see what really happens or what transpires in those 5 days from September 18 to 22nd. Well, but also what you need to be looking out for is the leaders of the opposition grouping, that is INDIA. They all are meeting in Mumbai, and that meeting that started yesterday. Today is the second day, and remember, overall it's the third meeting by this bloc. After those informal sessions yesterday, today is where they'll have their task cut out for them. The bloc will be discussing strategy to take on the BJP in the Lok Sabha elections of 2024. And this year as well, they need to make sure that they're considered inclusive in all their forms, especially getting in new allies. Now, unveiling what the India Bloc logo is, that is something that has been on their mind and what we perhaps need to be looking out for, as well as discussions on the Common Minimum Program or CMP will be the highlight in this 2 days deliberation. Now, as many as 63 representatives from 28 political parties are attending this meeting, which is taking place at the Grand Hyatt here in Mumbai. Now, the meetings will conclude today with a joint press conference at 3:30 p.m. So do come back for that. And next up, we have a significant development from the medical front, where Britain now plans to roll out an injection for the treatment of hundreds of cancer patients and aims to cut this treatment time by up to 3/4. Now, UK becomes the first country to introduce an injection that will treat cancer in just 7 minutes. Now, currently, cancer patients are receiving life-extending immunotherapy, atezolizumab, which in their veins, which is directly gone through a drug transfusion. That's how it's done, and takes around 30 minutes to an hour to be administered. But this now new drug, however, will be given through an IV drip in an injection form. Now, lung, breast, liver, bladder, all of these cancer patients are the ones who will be eligible to take this jab. In fact, the doctors claim that the cancer patients are likely to switch to an injection treatment, as the formulation of the new drug will reduce that treatment time by up to 75% approximately. So definitely new heights that we're reaching in when it comes to medicine and how we're developing that. And especially if you tell someone that cancer treatment in 7 minutes, yes, it may be a bit misconstrued, but we must go ahead and see what really we are developing in the field of medicine. Well, also let's tell you more on a news that might not really be too much of a surprise. Now, did you know that India tops the YouTube chart for removal of the most number of videos that violate its community guidelines? That's right, India has consistently been the top country to witness the removal of videos since 2020 for violating the company's community guidelines. The country also topped the chart for videos that have been flagged off by humans for suspecting violations. Now, the video sharing platform removed over 1.9 million videos from India itself, from the overall total of 6.48 million videos that it removed globally. Now, the company also removed 8.7 million channels globally in Q1. Now, 2023, most of these videos that were terminated are terminated for the fact that they've been violating their spam policies. And well, if you've grown up watching TV shows like Kyunki Saas Bhi Bahu Thi or any of these case serials really that were produced by Ekta Kapoor, let me tell you that she has added another feather to her hat. She's been honored by the International Directorate Award at the 51st Emmy Awards ceremony, which will take place in November. She will be the first Indian filmmaker to receive the International Directorate Award for her contribution to the Indian showbiz industry. Ekta's production house Balaji Telefilms has produced over 17,000 hours of TV. And not just that, Ekta Kapoor also ranks among India's 50 most powerful women in Asia. So more for the women here in Asia, and Ekta Kapoor really adding another feather to her hat. And well, it's Friday, so how can we not tell you more and talk about the movies? Because if you're a Shah Rukh Khan fan, then I'm sure you already have your next weekend planned, ready to go catch that Shah Rukh Khan's upcoming movie Jawan, which is set to release on September 7th. Now, fans can't get enough of that never-seen-before character that he portrays in this movie, and the trailer just dropped yesterday, 7 days before the release, something that no other Bollywood movie has gone ahead to do. The film definitely features Nayanthara. It also features Vijay Sethupathi, Sanya Malhotra, Sanjay Dutt and Sunil Grover. Jawan's promotion, though, has also hit another notch higher, as the trailer was being screened on the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, in the presence of a huge crowd, as well as Shah Rukh Khan, who was present there and danced his heart out to the famous song from the movie Zinda Banda. And there is more data that will be released today, so let's get you up to speed with all you need to be looking out for through the day and through the weekend. Yes, of course, we already had the GDP data that came in. We are going to have a slew of other high-frequency indicators, one of them being the manufacturing PMI, S&P Global, which will be putting out those numbers of all the manufacturing activity that took place in August. That data is expected at 10:30 a.m. We also have all the auto sales data that we've been talking about. All of those will be trickling in, various automakers putting out how much they have, what kind of sales they've got through the month of August. So watch out for those numbers. And in the markets, we are likely to see big block deals. It has been a week of big block deals, in fact, and word is that Matrix Partners as well as TPG Norwest, these ones are likely to sell up to 1,860 crore worth of shares via block deals today. That is about 8.8% equity shares in Five-Star Finance. You will also be looking out for Geo Financial Services, which will be removed from the Sensex starting today. And with that, it's a wrap, and hope this dose of Newspresso was useful and informative and gives you that kickstart to your day. We have a long weekend ahead. If you have no weekend plans, there is the India-Pakistan match that could give you a kickstart tomorrow, and I'm sure a lot of cricket fans are looking forward to that in the Asia Cup. But don't forget to come back here on Monday morning, because I'll be right here with your fresh shot of Newspresso from all of us that put this show together. Thanks so much for tuning in.
How do world leaders view India?
I've long believed that the relationship between the United States and India is will be one of the defining relationships of the 21st century.
The bright spot of the global economy.
The growth rate for India, which is 6.8 in 2022. Let's not forget, this is one of the bright spots in the global economy right now, such a high growth rate.
The potential of India is enormous, and you have now a reformer, a radical reformer, who has the ability to transform it.
On the verge of a big transformation.
इस अमृत काल में हमारे संकल्पों की सिद्धि हमें आजादी के 100 वर्ष तक ले जाएगी.
A magnet for investment.
I'm actually incredibly excited about the future of India. I think India has more promise than any large country in the world.
The world is bullish on India. Moneycontrol is bullish on India. Join the campaign. Tweet to us with #MC Bullish on India.